to Orange Tank 2020. I really appreciate everybody being here. And I want to also acknowledge John Corey and his generous gift that made this happen and made it possible for our students and our alums to pitch. So I'd like to welcome and thank our 4 judges who are Syracuse alum as well. So I'd like to go ahead and have them introduce themselves really briefly before we get kicked off with the first pitch. So Oriana, would you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, John. My name is Oriana Fuentes. I'm Chief Operating Officer of a company called Emter, which is a software company. I was a Syracuse 2012 grad from the Whitman School of Management and Arts and Sciences. I live in New York.
Great. Thank you, Oriana. Oriana did this for us last year as well, so she's a veteran Orange Tank judge. Bob, please.
My name is Bob Hornung. I'm class of 1987. And I'm president of Evo Systems. Evo is a startup company. We're about 2.5 years old, and we're in the supply chain space. We have a lot of cloud systems in the distribution space of the building products industry.
Great. Thank you, Bob. Phil McNeil.
Yeah, hi, I'm Phil McNeil. I'm an 81 graduate, so I think that makes me the oldest one here. Went on to get a graduate degree, then eventually start working in private equity. So I started that in 1988. Been doing that ever since. Most recently, the co-founder and managing partner, Farragut Capital Partners, about a $280 million mezzanine private equity group out of Washington, D.C.
Great, thank you, Phil. And Ben Grubbs.
I'm Ben Grubbs, the founder and CEO of Next 10 Ventures, based in Los Angeles. Entered Syracuse in Whitman, class of 01. Took me 10 years to actually kind of complete. I left school early to actually start working at Yahoo in Singapore. Came out of an internship from the Syracuse DIPA program and spent 15 years in Asia working for Yahoo, eBay, Time Warner, and Google. And been back in the States now for the last few years.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much to all 4 of our judges. So the format for the pitches, we will have 5 minutes to present. If you're pitching, you should have your slides ready to go. And when it's your turn, you can share your screen, show your slides, and then begin your pitch. Once you begin your pitch, I'll start your timer. And when you have 1 minute left, I'll just put in the chat box that you have 1 minute. That'll be a 1 minute warning. So instead of me interrupting you with my voice, I'll just put it in the chat box. So keep an eye there. So you'll have 1 minute to go. And then once you get to 5 minutes, I will need to stop you just so it's fair to everybody and just so we stay on track. Then we'll open it up to the judges for questions. And then we'll take a brief second to move on to the next participant. We've got 5 student pitches, and then we'll take an intermission. And then we'll proceed with our alumni pitches after that. Once that's over, I will take the judges to a different room for their deliberations, and you can stick around while Todd Moss gives you a program update on the EEE program. And then we're really happy to hear from Kelsey Davis, who is the reigning Orange Tank Grand Prize winner. And she is right now out in Los Angeles at Techstars doing her thing and using the money she's won in various competitions to grow and scale her company. And next up is Brian Arrington with Vets to Industry. So Brian, we'll let you share your screen, and I will go ahead and start your timer once you start presenting.
All right, thank you. Can you see my screen all right?
Yep, we got you.
All right. Good evening, Syracuse professors, administrators, boosters, alumni, fellow students, and those viewing us from around the world. My name is Brian Arrington, a current Syracuse student, veteran student leader, student ambassador, and second-year graduate student completing my MBA in marketing and concurrently an MS in entrepreneurship, my 5th and 6th degree and 2nd and 3rd master's degree. I'm the founder and president of a nationwide nonprofit called Vets to Industry Foundation, Inc., and am the founder and CEO of Vets to Industry, LLC, which has brought me here tonight. I retired from the Air Force July 1st, 2019, after 20 years, 1 month, and 12 days of service, but my transition story started a year prior in March of 2018. and is intertwined with the founding of Vets to Industry. In March 2018, I found LinkedIn by accident. This immediately led me to learn about Veteran Service Organizations, or VSOs, and I decided to attend a VSO seminar ran by Centurion Military Alliance that very next day. This is where my life changed, and the lives of tens of thousands of others would change as a result. I learned in the first 30 minutes of that class there are over 40,000 VSOs nationwide that provide free benefits and resources to currently serving military members and their families, and those that have transitioned or retired. It was at that moment that instead of being so grateful that I would have a phenomenal transition myself, I was extremely upset. I thought back to 2002 when I put on E5 in the Air Force, the first rank where you receive direct reports, and all the airmen that I had let get out of the military without setting them up for success on the outside due to my own ignorance on all the free resources out there. Then it hit me harder. How many of those airmen are part of the 22 whom have killed themselves a day, or unemployed, underemployed, on substance abuse, divorced, homeless, or incarcerated? When I went home, I researched online for the existence of a free single site repository where all of the free VSOs were co-located and could not find one. So in my last 6 months on active duty, I built Vets to Industry Foundation, Inc., the first free resource and benefits library for military members past and present and their families. Through the foundation, we have grown in just 1 year to 21,000 followers on LinkedIn alone and over 30,000 visitors to the library. We have added over 1,000 resources on the website and growing every month. And we have helped hundreds of veterans land interviews, land careers, brand themselves, receive life needs, and most importantly, hope. Through this year, though, I learned there was a tremendous gap with private and public companies not understanding the value veterans and military spouses can bring to the civilian work center, not knowing where to find them and not knowing how to retain them. Realizing this market potential, I built Vets to Industry LLC, a business consulting firm and company to military community connector through intimate virtual career fairs. The market is desperate for this. There are over 270,000 transitioning service members a year, not including their family members. Unemployment isn't the only issue. Underemployment also plagues the veteran and military spouse community. We differentiate from all others, such as hiring our heroes and recruit military, in that Vets to Industry LLC has the formula to directly combat these statistics by establishing a virtual online consulting platform to teach company HR staff and recruiters the day one value of hiring vets and spouses, how to receive federal tax credits through the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, which provides companies $5,000 up to $9,600 for each vet or mil spouse hired, how to retain vets and mil spouses through Vets to Industry's design training strategy delivered through online videos on an annual subscription. These will teach companies how to better train and support vets and spouses to learn their roles more effectively and build adaptability in the work culture. Vets to Industry LLC will show companies where to find vets and mil spouses through Vets to Industry's hosting of the only existing virtual-only intimate career fair available, which places company recruiters and the veteran and family community together in small Zoom-like breakout rooms. We already have 3 companies highly interested in paying the $6,500 cost for our career fair starting in January 2021. The ultimate goal at the end of each year is for Vets to Industry LLC to donate all profits after operating costs and investments to Vets to Industry Foundation, Inc. to enable more services and support to become available to our nation's heroes and their families. Thank you for your time and this opportunity, and as always, how can I help? Pay it forward.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Brian. All right, you can unshare your screen and we'll get to our Q&A. And why don't we start off with Phil McNeil with the first question.
Sure. First of all, Brian, nice presentation. I thought it was really an interesting concept. I do want to understand the revenue model, though. Is it primarily coming from career fairs, or are you charging vets at all for access to all the other resources?
Right. So there is absolutely no charge to veterans ever at all. The revenue will be coming from 2 different spaces. One is going to be through the consulting firm, where a company would hire us to provide them one, access to veterans, and then two, through the teaching of how to find veterans, how to retain them through the training, online training videos, so that we have subject matter expert consultants in the veteran transition space to provide them that understanding and that information. We found that a lot of companies just do not know what veterans can provide to the work center, and same with military spouses. The other side is going to be with the virtual career fairs, which we've had a lot of great luck with. On the Vets Industry Foundation side, we host Vets Industry virtual networking events where we have 20 to 30 different recruiters from Fortune 500 companies like Facebook and Amazon, and we have Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Broadleaf, tons of Kohl's coming to our events every 3 weeks to meet with veterans and military spouses, to get to know them and see if they can get any leads. What we're going to do now is put these career fairs through the LLC in between these networking events, so that companies can exclusively go in there and actually start recruiting the people through these events. I've already have 3 companies that have bitten on it, and we're looking at the contracts right now. That's Spectrum, Bank of America, and FEMA.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Super.
Sure.
All right, Ben, you're up.
Hi, Brian. Thank you for the presentation. That was great. So a question just on like the two sides of the marketplace. So you're talking earlier about 270,000 vets that are transitioning every year. Like how many are you actually seeking to kind of bring in to your marketplace and then have on offer to the companies? And then on these 3 that were kind of expressing interest, and so you're saying Spectrum, Bank of America, like have they expressed any interest in terms of how many roles over a 12-month time frame that they would conceivably actually look to kind of fill through this type of program?
Right. So we haven't talked about exact numbers that they want to fill, but they have tons of roles. They're open. They're continuously looking for, those are 3 companies that are continuously looking to hire, especially FEMA. But we are looking at having these companies come, and we know that more will come. Those are the only 3 companies I reached out to. And the first 3 companies, and all 3 of them said, oh, we want in. And I built a relationship with many of these companies, and I haven't even reached out to the other ones yet, so they don't even know this is coming.
So are they doing that on the presumption that like you already have a base of veterans? Like, I mean, you talked earlier about, or was it 21,000 LinkedIn connections, but like how many veterans do you actually have like within the system right now?
So I have over 144 volunteers in nonprofit. All of them have huge networks. We are all veteran influencers in the LinkedIn space. So we literally have access to hundreds of thousands of transitioning veterans by ourselves. I'm actually a veteran influencer on the LinkedIn space myself. Mm-hmm. So getting to the transitioning service members is easy. Vets Industry has a phenomenal credibility and reputation, which will allow that to take place. So finding them is not going to be difficult for us because we are them.
All right. Thank you, Brian. We're going to have to make that the last word because that was time. Thank you very much. Nice work. All right. So next up is Mashundra Macklin with Juggernaut.
Okay. Still can see my screen. Everything's okay?
Everything's good. Yeah.
All right. So here we go. All right. My name's Mashundra Macklin, and I'm here to present Juggernaut to you guys. Did you guys know that 40% of sports participants are women, but they only get 4% of the media? But these relentless forces continue to break down the barriers, especially when it comes to male-dominated sports. As you can see here, this is an array of things that have been going on with women in sports. You can see here in your top left is Toni. She's the first woman to sign a letter of intent to be a linebacker in college and received a scholarship for it. Jeannie Buss, the LA Lakers owner, is the first woman to win a championship in the NBA. And the Browns versus Washington team was the first time in NFL history that women were on both sides of the coaching staff, and it was a ref on the field as well. Sports Illustrated even decided to make an article about the unrelenting women in sports and all around. Because women have been changing sports, there's even a platform for young girls that play with the boys called I Got Her Back. ESPN has even made a documentary about women trying to break the hardest barriers out there in American football. There are over 785,000 women that play women's tackle football. There's teams all over the US, and there's even a Team USA that has won 4 gold medals, and they're waiting to win their 5th, if COVID goes away, obviously, 2021. And there's leagues and teams all over, probably near cities near you. But as these teams grow, people are starting to notice these relentless forces. Adidas and Radel has teamed up with the WNFC to sponsor them, and it was even featured on Yahoo News. And this was even when the NFL had started. Women have been in the NFL commercials with Adidas and things like that. 11 Sport has picked up our games and started showing them on cable. Secret has become a sponsor with different leagues. Zenith, KT Tate, Wilson has sponsored the balls in both our leagues. Even Beer has jumped on board. But no one's thinking about what to do to protect these women. And that's where Juggernaut come in. Juggernaut is a new way to make and buy protective equipment made for women. Traditionally, if you're a woman trying to play a male sport, for example, I play women's tackle football. So the way I will go and buy my pads is I have to ask or try on someone's pads and hope they fit, or break out the measuring tape and like, is it fit my shoulder right? Is it in there? But because it's not made for women, it doesn't fit us properly. And the one pair of football pads that are made for women, they only come in 2 sizes, an A and a B. And me, I have lost 40 pounds and I was a B and then I was an A, and now it just doesn't really fit. And I'm just, all women can't be categorized into 2 categories. And this is how Juggernaut is going to change that. Juggernaut is going to be either through the website or you can download the app. And then you're going to ask a few questions, either about your fit or how you want to, how you would like your pads to fit you, maybe bra size and what position you play. And then you're going to stand in front of your camera, and it's going to take your dimensions and your weight and your height to capture your measurements. And then once it captures your measurements, it's going to send to our 3D printer, and it's going to make pads for you. Doing this way will make equipment light and easy, keep it easier to customize for different people. And then it also brings up satisfaction because you don't have to worry about customers not being happy about size and fit. And now you're probably wondering, how are we going to do this? So year 1 of Juggernaut, we're going to start with women's shoulders pads. There's going to be 3 types. There's going to be a skills position, which is like your linebacker, your running back, your corners. And then there's going to be a line woman pad, which is more your lineman, your defensive tackle, your bigger women. And then there's going to be the ability to customize them. They're going to come in all different sizes, maybe from extra small to extra large, depending on our orders. But because we're doing 3D printing, we can change those sizes. Usually, excuse me. And the reason why I'm doing this is because in 2016, there were only 4% of women that were buying pads, and it grew to 12% in 2007. In 2018, we're currently at a 9%. And then based on some quick surveying through my class, through the group of girls I know, about 200 to 300 girls I've asked, only 16% of them buy the pads that are made for women. But 77% said they would or probably would buy pads. So, and then my own personal experience, I was not a fan of those pads. And those pads have not changed in over 10 years. So after that, we want to, at the end of year 1, we want to achieve 1% of the women players market, which is a $1 million. After that, year 2, we want to expand to hockey and lacrosse, gaining about 1% in each one of those supports, equaling about a $2.6 million just in revenue, not total profits. And then that would also balance out our schedule for selling. And then year 3, we want to move to leisure sports and boxing, MMA, and wrestling. This is a little bit more competitive market, but we want to make sure we reach those women because this is also a very male-dominated market. But we want to make sure that we capture all of these women because they are breaking barriers in different sports.
And Mashundra, I'm sorry, I have to stop you there because we're at time.
Dang, okay. Yep,
Right.
and that was the end anyway, so I was like right on time.
Good for you. All right, thanks. So Ben, we'll get the Q&A kicked off with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mashundra, for your presentation. It's question's actually just around your approach on the product with 3D kind of printing. If you could just talk to like, how does that stand up from a regulations standpoint, vis-a-vis like the current kind of pad, like non-3D printed, and then do you see any kind of benefits or advantages on cost, on time to manufacture, and how are you thinking about actually how that's going to be done, and where this printing is actually taking place?
So I've talked with Richmond Printing here. I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and I've talked with them to try to get an idea of like how would this work, obviously, and then there's different printers, obviously, too. So just a general idea is it works exactly like a printer. So we can make adjustments if needed and quick on the fly. So that makes it easier to be like a nimble company. So if we find out pads are, let's just say we figured out women are about this size and that size, and we find out later that that doesn't fit most women, we can make quick adjustments to our pads and dimensions. And because it's plastic, it makes it really easier with 3D printing. So it's not as, you don't have to be as structural like metal and all that stuff, because we'll buy those metal bolts and things like that. So it makes it light, easy, and fast to print. And I think I covered all your questions.
I don't know if I could actually ask a repeat or.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm
No,
sorry.
I just on the cost. Like, so how do you, if you look at that option versus standard kind of manufacturing, like what kind of cost advantage are you having, and how is that potentially kind of passed down to the consumer?
So the cost benefit is, well, upfront you have to pay upfront, obviously, like most machines. But the cost benefit, because you're buying the material at a cheaper rate, and we're keeping inventory low. It can vary, but because of the 3D printing, I looked at like a secondhand printer, we can have margins between 30 and 37%. Pads usually cost about $200 in retail, just to give you an average. And then because we have the option to do customization, that would give us more profit range. But the cost does just vary, but it does give us a cost benefit later, not upfront, because it costs so much to buy the printer.
Got it, thank you.
All right, cool. Next, why don't we go with Oriana?
I think Bob had a question, but I'm happy to go.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't we defer to Bob, and then we'll go to Oriana next.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, nice job, but do you feel as an investor that the market is large enough, right? If you're going to attract capital,
What
what's
was
the total
that?
size of that? If you're going to attract capital for an investor, what's the total size of that market?
For football, it's going to be small. This was like the first year we kind of want to get out there and get our name out there. And then because football is a market that only has one pad with one, like just two sizes, it's just a wider market for us. But that's why I want to expand to lacrosse for women, hockey for women, boxing, wrestling. It's a little bit more competitive, but I want to keep expanding just to make sure it's like a platform for those relentless women that continue to fight for women's in sports.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Oriana?
Yeah, I was curious as to how you plan to advertise and market this. Like, how are you reaching out to potential clients?
So it's kind of interesting, kind of the same way the leagues do, because women's football is not like one of those things you see on TV. And even though that's not true, we continue to grow about 2% every year. So I'm going to go through social media. I'm going to go through those leagues. When they advertise to get sponsorships, we can have our names on there, and then that expands and more and more. And now there's even different leagues that are trying to pay women overseas. So trying to get those contracts with those companies as well. Kind of doing like the NFL, where they already buy everything in bulk. We just have the contract with them.
All right, great. And that'll be the last word because we're at time. Nice job, Mashundra. Hey, I put a link in the chat for you. Somebody had suggested that there's an impact prize that you should apply for. So if you don't know Linda Hartsock over at the Launchpad, Blackstone Launchpad, you should probably find her and talk to her more about it. But if you want to grab that link, go for it. And meanwhile, we'll get our final student pitch ready. So Bruno Gonzalez and Ambassador Technologies, you're up, and you can share your screen, start your pitch, and I'll start your timer.
All right, thank you. All right. Can everybody see this fine?
Yep.
All right. Well, first, I just want to thank everybody for coming out, and thank you to everybody who makes these events possible. Can't express how much it means to us as small startups. So just thank you, first of all. So without further ado, I'm Bruno Gonzalez-Hauger, CEO of Ambassador Technologies, presenting here with my brother, Mark Gonzalez-Hauger, and we are Ambassador, the influencing company. There's a big problem. Small brick and mortar businesses have trouble standing out on social media. A lot of these small businesses know about influencing, but most don't understand how to effectively run influencer campaigns. We have a nano solution. Who and what are nano influencers? Well, these are people with 100 to 10,000 Instagram followers. They can be anyone, your mother, brother, sister, best friend, super high engagement rate, 12 to 45%, and they're perfect for brick and mortar businesses with limited budgets wanting to advertise on social media. This is the power of nano. Average ROI, the best. In terms of engagement rate, that 12 to 45%, unheard of in other advertisements because all these nano influencers followers are people they actually know. They're much more likely to engage with their content. Then audience targeting, you get really specific with nano influencers because instead of large influencers where they have followers all over the world, all over the nation, nano influencers only have followers in 1 or 2 spots. This all started when I was working for Teenage Ad Agency as a social media strategist for the Vermont State Tourism Department. They tasked me with going out and finding micro-influencers, and it was so tedious. It took me hours to go through blogs, through Instagram, to find these influencers, to reach out, to negotiate comp. And I was basically like the whole time, there's got to be a better tool for this. Something I could use like Facebook ads, but with the power of people, with people, with real influence. So that's what we did. We automated influencing. Our technology allows businesses to target an audience based on location, category, gender, and age. Anyone on our influencer app who fits the specifications can accept a sponsorship offer. We verify that an influencer's post fits the exact specifications laid out in that offer to make the business happy, and we report campaign engagement stats back to the business on the business app. It's end-to-end, it works like a dream. Our business model has 2 streams of income. One, we take 10% when businesses are sending out offers. We only keep that 10% if the offer is complete. If no one posts and nothing happens, that money, of course, goes back to the business. And then we also take $3 to $10 from the influencer when they withdraw from their account. This depends on the influencer's size and how much money they have in their account. As far as the competition goes, we have Ambassador, Manifest, Heartbeat. None of these companies are as easy to use, have a small business focus, no subscription fee, are located in the United States, and use nano influencers. We're the only company that hits all those marks. As far as our path to market, we're starting here in Syracuse, going door to door to businesses to get them on, getting influencers on through Ambassador ads, through Instagram ads, through social media channels. November to December, we're going to NYC, huge small business market there, huge influencer market there. And then we're going to LA later in March, or across the nation, college campuses all over, huge influencer market there too. In summer 2021, we're going to do further expansion to new territories, and we're doing some new app development on some other media channels, which is really exciting. From December to summer 2021, that period of time is where cash infusion and winning competitions like this really expedites our growth. As far as our traction, we've gotten a bunch of businesses on Ambassador just in the last couple of weeks here. We also beta launched with 3 companies in November 2019 to September 2020. We have over 300 influencer downloads with 0 marketing from January to March 2020, which is really cool to see. It shows the demand. We won the iPrize in April. We got some great press earlier this month in Daily Orange. We're going to get 15 new businesses and 200 influencers on by the end of the month. And we also happen to just win Q-Stank. So we had a really good month here at Ambassador. This is the team that's getting it done. I'm Bruno Gonzalez. I'm the CEO of Ambassador and president of Teenage Advertising Agency. I'm here with my brother, Mark Gonzalez-Hauger, the CTO. He's developing the app with Ram Kumar, our back-end developer. And then I have Ben Lin helping me on the creative content front. We have an amazing board of directors or advisors from professors of entrepreneurship who have built multi-million-dollar businesses. As the CEO of Guild of Social, Scott Friedberg, Josh Ahir, senior strategist at RGA, specifically in the venture department, and of course, Linda Harsock, the director of the SU Blackstone Launchpad. This is what Ambassador is all about. We're about empowering small, giving mom and pop shops a new platform to excel on social media, integrating small businesses and their communities on a mutually beneficial platform, and enabling anyone on Instagram with a voice and with engagement to be a paid influencer. Nothing's automated like this so far, and nothing's been beneficial for the small guy. That's what we're all about. So thank you. And we're Ambassador Technologies. Any questions?
All right, thanks, Bruno. Nice job. you can unshare your screen. And
Okay.
I think Phil, no, I'm sorry, it's Ben. Ben, you're the first one up this time. Is that right? I think I lost track. But why don't we start with Ben? This is right in your wheelhouse, I think.
Yeah. Thank you, Bruno. It's good to meet. So I'm just curious, on the small businesses, are you finding, like, for the folks that you're working with, is this kind of incremental spend on top of any kind of paid search marketing, or is this like are they replacing some of the search spend and actually trying to dive more into social? And then you just talked lastly around like Instagram. Are you thinking actually about integrating with any other platform, or are you really just going to be mining kind of the talent, the influencer from Instagram exclusively?
Sure. Yeah, so definitely an incremental service. This isn't something to replace all your advertising by any means, but it's super effective. You want to add it on to your Google search. You want to appear on Google. You want to have those search ads, but you also want to engage with your audience on social media like you can't just with content ads through Facebook. You're going to get higher engagement. Your brand's going to be associated with influencers, small people in your community, actual customers. It gives you that warm feeling. And then as far as your other question with other social media channels, yeah, summer 2021, we got some plans to develop apps around other social media channels. We're looking at YouTube. We're looking at actually podcasting, huge, podcasting market. Any medium where there's creators and there's small businesses that can benefit from those creators, and there's a little money to be spent by making those creators sponsored influencers. That's the market we want to be in. We want to be that company.
Got it. Thanks.
Cool.
No problem.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Phil, you're up.
Yeah, first of all, it's a terrific presentation. Can
Thank
you
you.
give me a sense of what scale you need to make this work? In other words, something like this usually takes, some level of users or small, that matter, to get to the point where it makes sense to do this. What kind of scale do you get for this to be a real company?
Yeah, so we're starting very small. We're starting here in Syracuse. Small businesses here, influencers here, a couple hundred influencers, dozens of small businesses getting cash flow. Then we're going to expand to other New York cities, and then the New York City, the Big Apple, later in about March 2021. The kind of way this works is it's a lot of grinding up front. It's a lot of going to small businesses, offering them, $50 up front. Try out our service. You're going to love it. Getting influencers on. As this expands, though, influencers have a way of, when they post, all their thousands of followers see it, all their hundreds of followers see it, and they see that, and then they get on the app. Let's say 5 of them out of those thousands decide to try the app too. They get on, they have a couple hundred followers, they have a couple thousand followers. So the bigger we get, it's more of like an exponential publicity thing, at least on the social media channels. And then as far as businesses go, the more businesses we get on in certain cities, and the case studies that we're able to execute, and they see this is something that works, and there's influencers on this thing who want to advocate for them, draws them in really quickly. So we're expecting higher growth as we get bigger. Starting small though, starting here.
Got it. Thanks.
I'd like to
No problem.
point out that we have a referral program for influencers to get businesses on.
Yep.
All right, Oriana, we've got time for one more. Oh, I'm sorry, Bob, it looked like you were ready to go. Go for it.
I just wanted to ask, what's your barrier to entry here?
Yeah, so we've already started. We were able to fund this thing out of pocket and get it going. The main barrier to entry, other than development, is getting those initial businesses on. But we've had a lot of success with that. Just the last couple of weeks. As far as growth is concerned, there's other big advertisers out there who are gonna combat.
And excuse me, I didn't ask my question correctly.
I'm sorry.
No, that's my fault. So I'm thinking your competitive barrier to entry. So
Right.
You have 4 or 5. I would think that you're young, you're developing up. I don't know what your budget for your development costs are. If there's any intellectual property that could be had here, but I would think they're larger and they could scale and they could probably move quickly and compete well.
Yeah.
This will be the last word, Bruno, okay? Because we're just about at time.
Yeah, as far as budget, we've been able to actually create these 2 apps already. And at this point now, it's just raising capital for further development and for further expansion marketing wise. I'd say that those are our biggest barriers to entry, financially now, or just be able to raise that capital in order to keep growing.
Thank you.
All right,
No problem.
super.
Thank you.
All right, well, amazing job for all of our student presenters. You did a really, really nice set of presentations. So really, really proud of you all. So with that's the end of our student presentations, and we're just about caught up on our timeline, which is fantastic. So we're going to take an intermission till 7:15 p.m. Eastern. The judges can kind of get their thoughts together, make some notes. Everybody else can get up, move around, and we will reconvene at 7:15. I have to go deal with a group of MBA students in a class, so Todd Moss will pick up for part of the second half, and then I'll be back right as soon as my class is over, and we'll close it out. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you at 7:15.
Okay, next we'll have Cloud Studio. Joseph, your son looks like you're right there. Okay, so when you start, I'll start the 5 minutes, okay?
Yes, hello from Los Angeles. I am representing Cloud Studio. So we are a Salesforce partner, and I'm pitching an app that we built for the App Store. Okay, just to give some background here, because it's a lot. What is Salesforce? So Salesforce is the leading CRM, ERP company in the world. According to them, this is a 2020 estimate. They have 150,000 companies that run on Salesforce. So 150,000 customers, I'm sorry. So there's 150,000 businesses that are running on Salesforce. Just want to add one point here. All the major consulting companies have a Salesforce consulting practice. So Accenture, IBM, Bain, all the big accounting firms as well. What is the App Store? The App Exchange, it's called the App Exchange. It's the business app store. So this is going to be just like your phone. The only difference is when you download an app, it's going into your Salesforce system. So these are business apps, right? Think like Signature or stuff like that. One key metric I want to point out, this is the latest estimate we have is 2016, 79% of Salesforce customers use an app. So if we take the math on that, 150,000 customers times 79% is 118,000 companies. These are usually sold on a per seat basis. So a rough estimate would be 3 per company. So we're looking at a total market of around 350,000 software licenses would be the total market. This is just a screenshot of what the App Store looks like, App Exchange. Okay, the problem that we set out to solve. So picture you go into a company and you are responsible for a Salesforce system. Maybe you went in as an administrator and it is now your job to maintain this system. Maybe you went in as a developer just for one project. Maybe you went in as an executive and you're a CTO and Salesforce now falls under your purvey, right? What are the questions you're going to ask yourself? How is this system being used? All these systems are mission critical. I don't want to break anything, but it's now my responsibility to maintain the system. So I have questions. How is it built? How's it being used? These questions as a consultant, I've come across, I've done over 100 systems. I've come across so many of these problems, and I've literally spent weeks, months, years trying to figure out how a system was built, okay? So this is what I set out to solve. I wanted to create almost a blueprint to figure out how a system was working and how it was being used in a business. Just a quick note, it's been a long journey. It's been 5 years. I went to Whitman. I did not go to the engineering school, so I had to teach myself how to code. Also, it was a really complex engineering problem, and even Salesforce has not solved some of these problems. But these problems are now solved. I want to introduce you to OAtlas. This is the app that I'm pitching. What used to take weeks, months, and years will now take just hours, okay? It's fully built. We're testing with customers. The summer reaction has been a mind blow. The people that I've shown this to have been completely blown away. A couple of Salesforce employees are blown away. I told them about it. I haven't shown them yet. One person that we pitched to actually said, without even seeing the product, they said, we'll take the testing license and we'll take 3 more licenses, just to give you some idea. Just want to share some screenshots. Yeah, it's not important, the details, but if you look at the bottom right, you can start to get an idea of how many records were created in the last 30, 60, 90 days, 6 months, a year. You get an idea of how this part of the system is being used, okay? If we drill down further, this is everything attached to that part of the system. If we look at number 62, type, looks like that part's used 1.83% of the time. Let's drill down further into that. So now we're within an individual field, this part of the system, 1.83% of the time, but we can see it was filled in the last 30, 60, 90 days. So we know it's being used. These are the kinds of things that the app really starts to break down, and you can understand how your system is being used. But this one, you can take a look. It hasn't been used in a long time. This is something we should take a look at, right? Okay, this is really important. So not only have I had this problem, and I've talked to tons of consultants that have had the same problem, customers are asking for this app, okay? This is a screenshot of the app exchange, sorry, the idea exchange. The idea exchange is an official Salesforce forum where logged in real customer users vote on features that they want to see, okay? If I leave you with one slide today, it's this one. 10,000 real customer votes they voted for features that are included in this app. 10,000 customers have already said that they want this app. Our target market, we're going to go after companies that have open Salesforce jobs, right? These are new people that are coming into a system, and they're going to need to know how to manage it and what's going on. All the consulting firms, they're going to love this. One of them might want to buy it, I'm not sure. Salesforce itself as well. And sales estimates, I would put like the low in like 500K, medium would be like 2, 3, 4 million. The high, I think we can go 10 million plus on this. Honestly, this could go 50, 75 million, no problem. Notice this is only at 3,000 customers. It's not really that high. In summary, this app has customers waiting. It's really hard to duplicate. It's already been received well. It's software, so it's scalable, and it's incredibly sticky. That's all I got. Thank you for the opportunity to pitch, and happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Joe. Let's see, Ben, why don't we start with you?
Thanks. Thanks, Joe. So I just trying to understand. So the key customer here is someone with a Salesforce enterprise account, and I think through OAtlas, this is a way to help them better understand their utilization of Salesforce and make sure that they're actually maximizing their utilization of the product.
So that's part of it. Definitely utilization. I think the very first win would be, like, I can't exaggerate enough how often this happens where you come into a system and you really have no idea how it's built or how it's working, period. Like, is there maybe there's somebody there that you can talk to. Maybe there's some documentation about what parts of the organization this system touches. Hopefully there is. I'm gonna be honest with you, I've touched over 100, I've never seen it. So it's really about understanding how your system is built and then document it going forward. That's all in the app.
Is the I guess the exchange, I'm trying to think through on the business model side. So in terms of paying these enterprise licenses, it's assuring that like you're having an efficient spend utilization. That's why I was saying utilization before. I'm just trying to look at like the cost benefit analysis of why someone's actually getting your enterprise license.
I think for an executive, not a Salesforce professional, ROI will be huge, and just an understanding of how to do it. I also want to point out actually the screenshot that I shared from the idea exchange is reporting on permissions. And this is one of the biggest problems that we've solved, that even Salesforce has had a problem solving. Right now, these companies are paying auditors time to go into their system manually, which takes days, and figure out how the permissions are even set up. Okay, you can do this with the app in literally minutes.
Got it. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Oriana.
Thank you for the question.
I'm curious about how you've priced this. Have you figured out like the average of how many seats are the subscription to Salesforce these companies are saving, or are you comparing to similar products? Like I've seen similar stuff for AWS that I use at my company.
Exactly, yeah. So it kind of falls into like almost like a application performance management, right? I'm planning to price around $1,000 a year per user. I think that however big the team is, they will probably end up taking licenses for all the team, would be my guess. If one person on the team takes a license and the other 5 don't have licenses, they're going to be at a real disadvantage. Not to mention they're not going to be able to put documentation in. You actually will be, since you know this world, you'll be really shocked by this. Salesforce doesn't really have a way to put a proper documentation, period. They don't have that. Anyways, sorry, to answer your question. Yeah, I would say we're in line. There are a couple of competitors that provide maybe 10% of the functionality, and it's about in line with where they are. It's a little bit higher price, but we have a better product.
And can you give me just an overview of the tech? Like, what have you guys, like you guys create
Absolutely.
Salesforce almost? Like, what have you done?
Absolutely. So they provide it all via an API. So it's actually new. The key here, and that's why I said it's so difficult to recreate, is that the API is not accessible from within your system. So I actually had to build a Java app outside of the system to call it from the outside and then put the data back in. I'm using Java and Heroku, which is, it's a Salesforce product. I built it with all their tech so it would be attractive to them in case that, maybe they want to buy it.
Okay, you have a quick question there, Bob?
Yeah, Joseph, I think this is very interesting. This was my space. For years, I ran a software company. And have you heard of Siebel Systems?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Yeah, I was their largest acquisition in history.
Wow.
Yeah, it was on and then we sold out to Oracle. So give me a call after, but I just would, your pricing might seem a little high, but things can be worked out. Is there any intellectual property you have in the software?
So it's really hard to, so I'm working with an IP attorney down in Orange County. We're working on a trademark, at least for the name. So one of the things that I really wanted to try to protect is that permissions part I was talking about. So that's like a real key thing that will save people a lot of time. And I explained it to the lawyer, and they're like, I don't think you can protect this. And if you did, it would take like 5 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I don't really have it. I will say that, so the short answer is no, unfortunately. I think the long answer would be, it's really hard to replicate, and we need to grab market share fast, because once people get it, it's going to be sticky.
Anyway, we're probably out of time, but you got good advice from your attorney, and you're right, scale and speed is what's going to get you a return.
Great.
Awesome, thank you so
Okay,
much.
thanks, Bob, and thanks, Joe. Okay, Kwaku. Well, so as soon as you start sharing your screen and get going, we'll start your 5 minutes.
So thank you, everyone. It's good to be in the presence of the Orange again. We're Farm to Flame Energy. I'm co-founder and CEO, and we harness the universal biomass solution. So the problem is affordable and renewable backup power. Of the 900 million people who currently don't have access to clean and reliable electricity, Nigeria is a big proponent of this problem. They operate on an unreliable grid where over 50% of the year is spent in power outage. So imagine 15 out of 30 days in the year with no heat, not even able to heat food sometimes. It's an expensive solution, as over 86% of businesses own diesel generators that operate over 35 cents per kilowatt hour with the cost of electricity. And it's a health hazard, leading to the 4th deadliest air quality in the world with the toxic carbon monoxide emissions that come from this generator. So we solved this problem with the generator and fuel processing unit, which we carefully built to generate 24/7 on-demand power at a cost of under 14 cents per kilowatt hour. And we do this by tapping into various biomass waste streams, which lowers the transportation cost, and a patented combustion process, which has been tested for over 10 years and has low emissions in regards to other biomass competitors. We have a $6 billion market opportunity in Nigeria, which includes 54 federal hospitals, 70 universities, 100 million meters squared of commercial buildings to be built by 2025, and 50 million meters squared of these multi-unit residential buildings, often which come with construction plans and generators already designed in. Even if we tackle 1% of this market, that's still 60 million in value. We currently have a partnership with the University of Calabar. It's a teaching hospital. They rely on diesel generators for over 4 hours a day and spend over $1 million per year on fuel. They've explored the option of solar and storage alone, but that's an expensive alternative. We went over there in 2019 and we assessed their problem and signed a letter of intent with them, then turning it in 2020 into a 3.5 megawatt contract to be implemented after our 25 kilowatt market traction in the US. And the supply chain comes from Abuja farms and sawmills alike. So the business economics in Nigeria revolve around taking fuel from biomass suppliers, paying them a sum for it, then processing it at a central fuel processing facility within a 50-mile radius of our clients. We then sell it to them with the flexible generator contract so they can experience savings in the first year if they would like. And they give us back their ash and we utilize that for fertilizer in the market. The partnership we have in the US getting ready for this is with the Boston area high school, and they're focused on agriculture and technical. So their goals rely around educational and career training, and we've received the superintendent's approval for this. We're going to be working with their public works department in order to take their waste and utilize that waste in many different streams of it for electrification. And we've also been using machine learning. We've been using this to assess if it's even viable or not to go to the fuel site that day by one picture. So an intern is working on this for us right now, and he's already been able to achieve accuracies above 95%, basically saying, is this fuel quality enough for us to take it to our facility? The competitive advantage that we have is the cost in relation to options like diesel and solar alone. But when talking about fuel flexibility, we talk with biomass and other forms of biomass like anaerobic digestion, which are limited to specific wet fuels, but we use a multitude of dry crop waste. And we have a low footprint where anaerobic has 300 parts per million carbon monoxide, we operate at 100 parts per million. And the value proposition is really around the savings you see with diesel. So when we're looking at diesel, we have a $75,000 cost of our generator as a down payment. But for savings within the first year, you can have a $7,000 per year installment, and then you're $30,000 cheaper than diesel in fuel cost. Even if you didn't have that installment, your payback period can still be less than 2 years. And there's a yearly fuel expense that comes with that. But this is the savings that we're trying to see, and we look forward to it. And so to date, we've raised about 100K in cash and investments and just goals. We've been able to generate electricity with a 28-watt alpha unit. And we've also turned that letter of intent into a contract. Right now, we're manufacturing a 10 kilowatt unit in Kearney, New Jersey. And we're very excited about this because we have some NYSERDA interns helping us along the ride. And so our funding goal right now, we have these fuel contracts, we have the generators, we just need to process the fuel. And so we're looking for 40K in funding to process this fuel, as well as cover these reimbursed NYSERDA salaries and the lease in Kearney, New Jersey. And you can see our projections as we work here in the US for the first 2 years and then step into Nigeria in the third year to start fulfilling that 3.5 megawatt contract, starting a portion of it and then continuing into 2024. And you can see that we have different revenue from selling the fuel, which is on the bottom, and selling the generators, which is on the top row. And so we have the team to do it. This is about half of our team, and it's very diverse, ranging from design leads to circular economy interns. But we just wanted to show the skill sets that we have and how we're operating globally. And we're hiring too. And specifically talking to Syracuse University with the NYSERDA program, we're specifically looking for technical leads as well as supply chain help. So anybody who would like to talk, please contact me.
Great. Thank you, Kwaku. That's our 5 minutes. I guess you got your last slide there. Great. Okay, good. For questions, let's see. Oriana, please.
Yep. Can you tell us a little bit about like your expansion plan? Are you doing just Nigeria? Are you hoping to do something in the whole region or in other countries like in South America?
Yeah, yes. Can I share my screen again? I'm sorry, I have a backup slide. So we are focused in regions in the United States that expand out of just the states. So right here, we want to look at our revenue model as first going in with these 25 kilowatt units and building a manufacturing hub. But at the same time, we want to expand to remote communities. So our CFO, who was just brought on in February, is from Puerto Rico and Costa Rica. And he has just, been helping us to submit these SBIR and NSF grants that are allowing us to move into these remote communities because they have similar problems as well. During Hurricane Maria, most of the island had to switch to diesel generators. So it's the same type of cost problem that we see. We're also looking at India. We've been looking at India for a partnership for about a year now. And we understand that India has a bit different problems. They operate a lot on natural gas these days, but the amount of people who do not have access to baseload capacity is similar in problem scope to Nigeria. So there's similar and there's different problems elsewhere. I also just graduated from CMU. So there's a program in Rwanda for CMU. And there's programs that we're really trying to launch this all over, especially with our own teammates as ambassadors, because they're able to, understand these problems, understand the scope, and then we can get in there and do market research and assess scaling it after testing.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bob. Oh, you're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, I think it's great what you're doing. It's just so different from my skill sets. I'm trying to swallow it. So I really appreciate what you're doing for your country and trying to grow a business as well. I think I'll pass.
Thank you.
Okay, Phil?
Yeah, I had a question about you're going to be leasing a lot of generators, the payment plan over 7 years or so. Are you bringing in a leasing company to help you with that? Or are you going to try to do that off the balance sheet?
So we would try to do it off balance. It would be a good recommendation to do it off lease. There's certain companies who do the same with solar. And so that's who we would try to partner with. And so we have the solar comparison for an extra analysis pointed here. But that is definitely a good suggestion, and it's something that we should look at.
Yeah, thanks.
Great. Ben, we got time for one more?
Yeah, sure. So just on the test that you're doing with the university, just want to kind of clarify. So that was on this solar plan, or that was not?
So this is a hybrid. So they have a biomass capacity, and to understand that they want 1 megawatt, it's doable. It's around 5,000 tons per year. And we realize we can even do it in the States by partnering with these public works facilities and taking around 1% of the yard waste that they have. We can produce that megawatt capacity. In Nigeria, it's a bit different. They have a multitude of sawmills. They're more concentrated, but we have to procure these contracts with them. So when I went over there, we actually went to individual sawmills and assessed how much they would be willing to sell us this fuel for, so that we could price out this fuel contract. And the fuel contract is actually at a 30% profit. But we wanted the University of Calabar to understand we need to do a hybrid, because although you want to go completely off the grid and go to biomass, we have to understand the flexibility that exists and stay on the less risky side for this fuel supplementation. Thankfully though, we just hired a mechanical engineer. I believe he's on this slide, Benjamin, on the bottom left. His mother actually owns a sawmill in Abuja, and they produce over 50,000 tons of softwood per year. So that's one feedstock that we can work with, but we're already starting to set some to the side for this project. And I'm very grateful, because supply chain is the most important thing with this biomass to electricity.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, Kwaku, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Farm to Flame. Okay, now let's see, Old Blackwater, Tommy Powell.
Great, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you just fine. You can go ahead and share your screen, and I'll start the timer for 5 minutes once you start.
Okay, Chris will be sharing the screen for us, and I'll get started as soon as that happens. I can't share my video. It's not letting me do that, though.
Oh, okay.
But that's okay. I'll get started anyway. My name is Tommy Powell. Good evening. Thank you for having us. I'm the CEO of Old Blackwater, and I'll start my video now. And I want to welcome you, after watching all these great pictures tonight, to the dirty jobs portion of the Orange Tank. The simplicity of Old Blackwater is really the beauty of our business concept here. So let me tell you a little bit about that. Southern Louisiana's communities consist of thousands of waterfront homes, large marinas that have access to numerous waterways all the way out to the Gulf of Mexico. Boat owners dock their boats either on their private property or in these large marinas. And the boats are used for overnight fishing, shrimping, or just leisure travel. Many of these private boats contain an onboard human waste system. It's a nice way of saying it's a toilet. But these toilets require proper disposal of the black water. Both state and federal laws prevent the discharge of this black water in any waterway. Unfortunately, many of the holding tank pumping stations that these boat owners have to use to unload their black water is only located on docks, and it's a big inconvenience to the boat owners. I've experienced this problem firsthand while visiting my family and friends in southern Louisiana. Before a day-long boating trip, my brother and I had to travel 15 miles in his boat. We had to get in queue. We had to pump out his holding station, and we had to get back in the boat and then drive back another 15 miles, taking 2.5 hours out of our planned trip just to get this wastewater offloaded. And so the process, while it took so long, I noticed right there on the spot, there was a problem here. And so we started doing some research. So guided by primary research, the overwhelming need by our target segment was making the dumping of this wastewater more convenient, and which would provide a service that would alleviate the temptation for boat owners to illegally dump. Old Black Water would address the problem of inconvenience travel and the illegal dumping of black water by deploying mobile floating discharge pumping stations. These mobile floating discharge pumping stations would provide economically safe and black water disposal, thus eliminating the pain of boat owners from traveling to a dock and paying to remove their black water. Much like you being able to place your household garbage curbside for pickup, our company would come to the customers, making the disposal of their black water safe, efficient, and effortless. Now I'll turn it over to Josh, who will tell you about our marketing and pricing plan.
So our primary data helped us to narrow down our target segments to 59,000 customers in Louisiana who are geographically located near or on waterways. It should be noted that the COVID pandemic has actually caused an unprecedented boom in boat sales nationwide, so this base is expected to experience a rapid growth in the current climate. Our flexible pricing plan is based on this research and is designed to meet the needs of 3 target segments, differentiated based on how they use the waterways. Initial marketing efforts will consist of guerrilla tactics in targeted social media groups, targeted mailers, as well as events in local stores with prize giveaways. Our aim is to capture and secure the market with a monthly subscription plan. The chart on the upper right depicts the structure of these plans. Basic guarantees 1 pump out per month, while Professional offers a discounted rate per pump out for a commitment of 2 pump outs per month, while a Premium plan offers further discounts per pump out at a commitment of 4 pump outs per month. Our growth strategy is to have a membership base that enables us to maintain a steady stream of revenue while providing a high level of convenience to our customer. Passing it on to Dan.
Hi, Dan, you're muted, by the way.
My bad, sorry. My name is Dan, and I'll talk a little bit about the operational timeline and scalability. Our largest assets are our boats at about $100,000 each. Our plan for scalability is to standardize on the boat type, pumping gear, navigational gear, and drivetrain. Old Black Water is planned to go live in 2021 with 2 boats at about a $200,000 cost. Our first month of operations expects only 600 pump outs, and our operational plan is based on achieving 900 pump outs per boat per month. Through our focused marketing, by year 2, 2 additional boats will be added as demand crosses 1,800 pump outs. By year 3, year 4, and year 5, we'll be adding a total of 6 more boats as our demand crosses the 5,400 mark. It's a stable and scalable business model with a 93% contribution margin that can be expanded to additional areas that match the business niche criteria.
Great, and that's our 5-minute mark there, guys. So I guess we can leave the slide up there so people can see that. But we'll start with the questions. Oriana.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you're going to coordinate this? I mean, I imagine in some seasons you'll have a lot of demand and other seasons you'll have less. And so how do you make sure you handle that demand well in coordination?
Hey, great question. I'm sorry.
One of the greatest things about our revenue model is it comes from establishing a recurring subscription service. And so we'll be collecting income every month, but our services might vary during the off season. So that kind of helps stabilize our revenues throughout the year. And you'll see that on this chart, there's incremental year-over-year growth rates, and we're targeting 161%.
Yep. So maybe I didn't phrase that correctly. So it was more because you have a couple of boats based on that you're adding, right? And so I imagine in some seasons you're just going to have so much demand. How are you going to make sure your customers are like the needs are met correctly and in timely fashion, given how much demand you'll have in like maybe key seasons where people are actually taking their boats out?
I'll answer that one. So in this area, the boating season is fairly flat. It's in the south, and again, the boating season doesn't see a lot of variation summer to winter. It does see some. We will be careful about expanding our service areas to make sure that the boats we do have will always remain in service, and will always we don't overexpand beyond our capacity areas. We'll only expand when we have additional boats that allow us to expand in a larger geography.
Thanks, Bob.
Do you have any plans that after Louisiana, what would be next?
That's a great question, Bob. So, what's interesting about this business concept is that, especially in the South and the Gulf South region, there's not any competition. It's all done manually with these pump out stations located on the dock. So we would try to expand out Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, Alabama into the Florida Panhandle as we continue to grow the business.
I also like this as a franchising model. There are a lot of businesses in other states that could use help financially and to kind of leverage our technology and our approach.
Great. Thanks, Old Black Water. Thank you very much. Here, our final presentation tonight, V's, Victoria Vassal. If you're with us, yep. You can, great. So go ahead, you can share your screen. Once you're, when you're all set and start, then I'll start the timer for you.
All set?
Yep.
All right, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Vicki Vassal. I'm a two-time alum of Syracuse, an apparel industry veteran, and the founder of V's. There are 10 million female golfers in the US alone, and the majority of us want more from our golf clothing. Women's golf apparel is unfashionable, ill-fitting, and unsustainable. We'll represent a third of golfers in 10 years, but less than 10% is made for us. These are our current options. A shapeless version of a men's polo and khakis, or a bit tighter and shorter, designed for a specific body type. In the sports industry, we call this shrinking and pinking it, and it's not good. Golf has been growing steadily over the past decade, and despite everything, in 2020, there's actually been a 10% increase in rounds of golf. And even with all-around retail suffering, athleisure has continued to grow because people are buying comfortable clothes that also look good right now. The trend is also going to continue because there are more female golfers playing in high school than ever before. My market research, which includes a survey and conversations with female golfers, shows that 71% of them are playing on public courses, not private ones. And for some, it's because of the clothes. More facts. Every respondent ranked style important or very important. 0 women surveyed were satisfied with the current selection. The top 5 needs listed were comfort, style, fit, breathability, and how about some functional pockets? The core V's consumer is multi-active. She plays golf a lot, but she also surfs, hikes, spins, snowboards. She's independent, rejects the status quo, travels solo, and she's fashion savvy, shops online at Revolve and Carbon 38. She'll totally treat herself to a pair of $500 shoes, but then I'll go over to H&M for her favorite organic cotton tee. She currently mixes golf basics with boutique styles or with non-golf stuff because honestly, it just looks better. And so I bring you V's. V's provides a fresh take, golf apparel that we actually want to wear, designs that are technical, sustainable, and that perform on and off the course. And yes, the line even complies with LPGA rules. But ultimately, V's purpose, it's about carving out a place for us. If you play golf, you know that feeling when you really crush a drive. It's blissful just watching it soar. I can only imagine how awesome that feeling would be if I wasn't already self-conscious hitting from the women's tee and yanking on the waist of my pants. V's approach is designed from a golfer's needs and benefits. The pieces have movement and support movement without being skin tight. They have street appeal because no one wants to wear a skirt to the grocery store. Fit democracy, designed to support multiple body types across all sizes. And sustainable because I and our consumer care about the impact fashion has on the environment. The rest of golf hasn't made that a priority. V's will be the first. For the past 10 years, I've built apparel brands specifically with the startup approach. So I know how to execute high quality brand and marketing campaigns with really lean budgets. And in that time, I've built this incredible network. So I've brought in the best advisors to support production, development, and design. Together, we're a team of industry leaders who have hustled at athletic brands of every size. I've secured a factory relationship in Asia that my design team has worked with before. Our first collection is going to be produced and released in 2 drops. We're currently on schedule, ready to transition to the factory. Marketing will kick off next March, launching the site and even offering pre-orders. Drop 1 goes live in June and a second in November. Bee's demographic is digitally native, and our marketing is going to be right where they are. That means influencer content, Instagram, YouTube ads, a community forum, a lean, scalable plan. The brand will be powered by Shopify, and eventually we'll even use Shopify's 3PL. Bees is also direct to consumer only, which keeps us ahead of the design curve, our timelines tight, and our obligation only to our consumer. Based on our model, our margins range from 52 to 67%. And Bees is strategically priced more expensive than your typical Nike dress, but more within reach than higher end brands like Tory Sport, aligned with boutique brands like Foray. So far, I've been able to bootstrap this business. I've been really leaning on my good karma with my network offering me super low or comp services until the brand launches. My plan is to continue to scrape funds together to launch the first drop, using proceeds from that to launch drop 2. With $25,000 now, I would be able to kick off development of a full line right now and best execute the launch as it's intended. More importantly, the prize will help me retain ownership of these by delaying taking on investors so I can truly nurture and scale this brand, this vision without compromise. For now, I just want to be on the course with these. Who's with me?
Great. Thank you very much, Vicki. Let's see, Phil, we'll start the questions with you.
Yeah, thanks. Vicki, how many SKUs do you see here? I'm thinking about just the logistics. You're going to have these made offshore. They're on a boat for a while. You have to get them here. There's got to be multiple sizes, multiple colors, and then you've got the issue of people buying 3 sizes to try them on and send them back. How does logistics play in this this concept?
Well, we are working with only 10 styles, so really treating this like a soft launch, and I'm able to do 100 quantity per style. So that'll allow us to do a decent size run from extra small to extra large. And it's a 120-day turnaround time. So I'll have them 4 months from the factory. And like I said, we've worked with this factory before, so we know that there's de-risking on both sides of that. As far as the returning with customers and stuff, that's really built into the plan. Like, we know that with fashion and retail, there's about a 30% return rate. There's ways to really try and avoid that with sustainability message and structuring how you you charge for shipping or charge for returns, and also in how you communicate how the garment is sold. So showing the garment on body, having descriptions of how it fits different body types, showing videos. These are all elements that we'll have on the website to really help sort of keep that as low as possible, but it's definitely in the plan.
How many SKUs per style do you expect to have? And you said 11 styles, is that right?
Oh yeah, so right now we're just gonna do the entire line, counting the 2 drops, is gonna have 10 to 12 SKUs, and we're just gonna start with 1 color. So part of how we're able to leverage this factory relationship and get those low minimums is we're working with limited fabrics. So we're using a 10 cell, and we're using a 4-way mechanical recycled polyester, and then we have a mesh and I think 1 other supplementary fabric from the US that we're sending. So keeping that lean and just staying with the 1 color for now is keeping it really simple. In the plan to scale, I will be adding, but we're scaling 2 times every year is the plan. So we can either add another colorways or other styles to the line or additional SKUs, depending on what the demand is.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Ben.
Thanks. So I just want to clarify. So you're saying 10 SKUs, then about 100 quantity per SKU. So about 1,000 units is in the June drop. Is that what you're trying to?
Yes. So in the what I have right now, the June drop is going to be 5 SKUs, and that is going to be 500 styles. So those 500 styles are dropping in June, and then the other 500 styles will be in development at the same time.
And then on your go-to-market, so are you looking to do this largely through paid marketing, or are you looking to tie up with any kind of endorsement deals with folks that are actually in professional golf or in the category that you're playing in?
Yeah, in the beginning, it's sort of a counterculture brand, and I think there's going to be AMs and maybe pros that it appeals to, but the idea is really to leverage what is also like the opportunity isn't just in the gap of the clothing, it's in the marketing. These kind of mid-level brands that we're priced with that are trying to do this kind of better thing for women, I think they're missing it because they're not being open-minded enough, but also their marketing isn't really good. So I think that we can grab a really good like proportionate share of voice in the digital area. So doing things like retargeting, boosted social, using video instead of photos, and having like a more remarkable creative direction that's more fashion forward than golf, and then supplementing it with influencers and a golf community that I'm starting to attract by talking about this, that are going to be part of like the startup, you know, leveraging them being part of the brand in the beginning. So they're giving us kind of the on the course stuff, and blending that all together to really just kind of foster a community and grow it from there. Then ideally, yeah, it'd be great to get our styles. That'd be a great problem to have if someone wears it on the tour.
Great, thank you. Great, that's the end of our Q&A and the end of our alumni presentations. Thank you. I want to thank everyone from alumni, those who presented, as well as from our students. So what we're going to do now is we'll take a break. The judges are going to leave the room and deliberate for a while. We'll take a 10-minute break, so let's say around 8:25. We will we'll all in this main room here where we are now while the judges are deliberating. I'll give a quick update on what's been happening in the EEE department this past year. And then we're going to have a Q&A with Kelsey Davis and Brendan O'Keefe. Those were our 2 winners from Orange Tank last year, the grand prize winners of $25,000 with their company Collective. And they're going to join us for this Q&A and to talk about the growth of their business, the idea, these kinds of things. We'll continue that until, let's see, 8, so that'll be 20 minutes, so 8:50. And then at 8:50, we'll have the judges come back into this room, and then we'll have the announcement of the winners. And Professor John Torrance will handle the conclusion. So while Professor Torrance is with the judges for the deliberation, I'll be giving the update and doing the Q&A with Kelsey and Brendan. So with that, let's take a roughly 10-minute break. We'll come back here in this room at 8:25. Thanks, everyone. All right, everyone, welcome. So I want to give you a quick update before we get into the Q&A with Kelsey and Brendan. I wanted to just give you a quick update about what's been happening, some EEE highlights for the past academic year, from the 2019-2020 academic year. First, I want to tell you a little bit about entrepreneurship by the numbers. The program is ranked number 3 in the country by the USA Today College Factual 2021 Best Colleges for Entrepreneurship. And in the same group, we're also ranked number 3 as the best college for entrepreneurship for veterans. We are number 14 in the Princeton Review for graduate studies in entrepreneurship, number 19 in the Princeton Review for undergraduate entrepreneurship. We also have 119 undergraduate students majoring in entrepreneurship here at the Whitman School. And to date, we have over $25 million raised by Syracuse Student Ventures. It's an amazing accomplishment, and talks a lot about, well, speaks a lot about how the entrepreneurial ecosystem here is flourishing with having the launch pad there in the library with Linda Hartzog, and then all of the other groups on campus who are contributing to that. Last year in October, this time last year, when we were able to do this event live in person, we had a EEE in NYC event. We had 12 students that visited companies in the city like WeWork and New Lab. New Lab is in Brooklyn. It's home to 130 tech startups, sort of like a mini Silicon Valley. there in the city. Michael Gordon, class of 2022, he said, I couldn't have asked for a better experience as my first trip to New York City. Learning from actual entrepreneurs was so enlightening. And then, of course, we had the Orange Tank event last year in a facility that was donated for the evening by Hal and Nina Fettner, two alums who are on the board of trustees. And to see this Orange Tank event firsthand, we wanted to thank them for that. For their contributions there, where Kelsey and Brendan again won the grand prize. This year, we have a new faculty member starting in the Tripoli department, Cristiano Bellavides. He earned his PhD from Cass Business School in London, England, not London, Ontario. He joins us most recently from Auckland Business School in New Zealand. He will be teaching Tripoli 370 starting in the spring term, the Intro to Entrepreneurship course. And his research is on new venture finance and is been doing some groundbreaking research on Bitcoin using initial Bitcoin offerings, right? Not necessarily initial public offerings, but initial Bitcoin offerings in entrepreneurship. This year, we started teaching, we did some research on diversity and inclusion. Two in particular I want to mention, Professor Johan Wicklund and Professor Alex McKelvey are studying entrepreneurship and mental health. They're engaging in research right now with a global survey of thousands of entrepreneurs who have a diagnosed mental illness. And also they've raised funding for visiting scholars to come here at Whitman who are doing research on entrepreneurship and mental health. So that's big news on the research front. As well as our here at Whitman, we have an Institute for an Entrepreneurial Society that's headed up by Professor Maria Minetti. And she's on a project that studies refugee entrepreneurs and their sense of community here once they come in the United States. You may not know that upstate New York, central New York, is one of the top 5 areas in the country for refugee resettlement. And so this study is looking at how refugees come here, many who were entrepreneurs in their home countries. What's their process for coming here and starting a business? You might imagine that coming into a completely foreign context where you have no idea what it means to license a business or how to get funding or things like this could present some very large hurdles. And yet these entrepreneurs are quite resilient in how they assemble their resources to start their businesses. On our education front with students and teaching, we have a course that we're offering this spring for the first time, Tripoli 446, 646. Actually, I'm sorry, it's in the fall right now, every fall. It's taught by, it's a course on women and minority entrepreneurship, taught by Eljava Abdul Qadir. He is the director of the Southside Innovation Center here on the south side of Syracuse. And he works with a lot of women and minority-owned businesses. They're working at the SSIC. He's teaching that class for us. It addresses some of the issues that are and challenges that are particular to ethnic and racial minorities, women, immigrants, and refugees, as well as individuals with disabilities and with veterans. And so it's meant to challenge the assumptions about who can be an entrepreneur and what does entrepreneurship look like. Really helping us to see that entrepreneurship can be all over and not just within certain groups. We have some great news about a PhD student here in the Whitman School in Entrepreneurship, Human Abu Torabi. He's an instructor in Tripoli 370 while he's working on his PhD. He won the 2020 Outstanding Teaching Assistant Award, which is given the top 4% of teaching assistants here at Syracuse University. And I should say he's not he's more than a teaching assistant, not just a TA. He's actually teaching these courses. We want our entrepreneurship PhD students to become experienced in the classroom teaching entrepreneurship. And so rather than having them serve as TAs, we have them serve as instructors. And finally, this year, we had one student, Valerie Wong, had an internship at BrainKey in Silicon Valley. Thanks to a generous donor, Valerie was able to travel to San Francisco in the Bay Area and work out there over the summer. She had her main roles there was engineering a website for BrainKey and working as a business analyst. She said we had to analyze web traffic to find out if it was Google, Facebook, or from another site, going to their site on BrainKey. She also monitored trends like why they would lose some customers. And so Valerie, again, had a wonderful experience there working in Silicon Valley. So those are some of these highlights from this current year. And we are going to, let's see, yes, there it is already. We, thanks to Allison Kessler in Alumni Relations, there, if you look in your chat, there's a link to the full annual report from the for the Triple E program for this past year. Thanks, Allison, for doing that. All right, so with that introduction, I'd like to now, we're going to talk to, or have a Q&A with Kelsey Davis and Brendan O'Keefe, again, two alums here from Whitman. So let's see, to get started off, so Kelsey, you can feel for you and Brendan can unmute yourselves and your camera and your microphone. There you guys are, great. And so I guess just to start off here, tell us about how you first got the idea for Collective.
Yeah, I guess I can start. So prior to Collective, so what's up guys, I'm Kelsey. Prior to Collective, I was a freelance creator, producing global visual content for global consumer brands like Coke, Land Rover, Puma, all while I was a full-time student at Syracuse University. And so for me, I was trying to figure out, how can I continue to scale what I was doing from a creative entrepreneurial standpoint without having to forfeit my academic career. It was super hard for me to balance both and trying to find different ways for me to source my own personal network, to find different job opportunities, and to find different on-ramping tools for me to be able to excel economically as a creator. And so what I started doing was essentially building out a database of different college students in the upstate New York, Northeast region overall, who these brands can tap into in order to be able to essentially source different Gen Z creators who were reflective of the Gen Z consumers that they were ultimately trying to reach. And so somewhere along that journey of trial, error, failure, and moving forward, I met Brendan actually in an entrepreneurship class, and then followed up in an entrepreneurship club event. And essentially, he was able to come on as our COO and really just help us actually build out our whole database infrastructure and figure out how to actually scale and figure out what that looked like at scale. So now we're in a position of essentially launching our tech platform of being a talent marketplace, which provides college creators an ability to connect with brands for paid creative work. So I guess long story less long, it came from me essentially having a problem as someone who's the user. It's just a college student who, especially in economic times like these, I knew I had skills and hobbies that were creative that I knew brands would pay for if I just had the ability to meet them. And so we essentially created the ecosystem where that activity can take place.
Cool, thanks. And so I know both of you were involved in this while you were in school in earlier forms. So how did this idea fit in with your undergrad studies?
Yeah, I think as an entrepreneur, you make everything work for you, right? So I, in undergrad, was television, radio, and film in Newhouse, and then an innovation design startups minor. And so for me, it was just naturally kind of this, creative entrepreneurship thing. I'm curious to hear from Brendan because he was pre-med. So yeah.
Yeah, so I was information management and technology on the pre-med track. So as you can imagine, doing 20, 30, 40 hours a week on a startup didn't necessarily fit in that well, but I think there was a lot of great resources at Syracuse, especially the Blackstone Launchpad. It was super easy for all of us and our team at the time to go there, ideate, put in the different hours, go in between classes to really make that as easy as possible for us. And obviously, Linda at the Launchpad was incredible and connected us. And just having that community there, you saw all of the other entrepreneurs also going through it as well, where they have classes, they have to study, but they're still making time to focus on their startup. So I think that was the community that at least I needed to be able to still do both at the same time.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. Yeah, because I know there's some students that are out here as part of the attendees, as well as some of our students here who are pitching today, and so I don't know, for those of you who don't know, we have an MS, Master's of Science in Entrepreneurship. To stick, students can stick around for an extra year and pursue the master's degree, and it's really the focus is for those students who want that extra year to focus on getting their business started, getting it up and running, or developed further along than trying to launch it right after their undergrad. I know, Kelsey, you graduated from that program. So tell us how this MSEEE program benefited you in developing your business.
Yeah, for sure. So I am 1 year older than Brendan. And so after I graduated my senior year, Brendan and I essentially made the decision that we knew we wanted to move forward and do Collective full time. But essentially we needed an extra year while Brandon was still finishing up undergrad for us to figure out two main things. How are we going to raise money to support ourselves? And then how are we actually going to build out this product? And so for me, being able to pursue that master's of entrepreneurship essentially gave me what some would identify as like a gap year, but like in the world of like having a playground as an entrepreneur. And so it was an environment where essentially for 10 months, I kind of had all the bells and whistles that I needed and was able to learn a lot of the fundamentals on a day-to-day where, I would show up to venture capital class on Tuesdays and Thursdays and on like Wednesdays and Fridays being in meetings with investors, right? And so when I show up to class, like I'm asking very tactical questions that are like legitimately related to what I'm doing now. And then also I think, it gives you the different, diverse concepts of different types of entrepreneurship and different types of businesses. So, for us, we're a high growth, high scale, like tech company that's like focused on, the traditional kind of like to IPO route. Whereas, you still learn things around like social entrepreneurship or things around like nonprofit entrepreneurship or, et cetera. So I think even being able to see, how things like managerial accounting or understanding financial markets holistically are important to all those different verticals, but how, for me as an entrepreneur, I can kind of take what I needed to serve myself in that pursuit. And now Brendan and I are in LA now doing this full time because we had the ability to like take that year to really be super critical and intentional like about what we wanted to learn. And now he's my roommate and my best friend and business partner, and we're out here like doing it for real. So yeah, it's important to have like a safe space to fail and to learn and to be growing in an environment that supports you, and encourages you, and can fund you. And so for me, the Masters of Entrepreneurship program is that.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. So what were, I guess for both of you, what were the largest challenges that you faced starting a business and pursuing it, trying to grow that as a student?
Take it, Chief.
I guess I'll start off with that one. I think the hardest thing for me was time management. Coming in from high school, having done pretty much every club available to me, I thought I had a good grip on time management. But obviously, once you go to college, it's a whole new ball game. So really learning that, and what I learned was the prioritization of my time. So, it was more to just allot time for certain things, but also allocating in which you're doing that. So, for example, what is the immediate priority? What is mission critical for Monday for me to do? What is mission critical then for Tuesday? So, by chopping it up and figuring out what it is that I need to do day by day rather than just allocating time, I think was really important. And especially for people with super busy schedules, that was a big tool and asset for me to be able to, do as much as I was while still being a student.
Kelsey?
Yeah, Brendan kind of took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say prioritization. Like college for me was like awesome, clearly. But I think it was because it was a space where holistically I had kind of a palette to be able to pick and choose and play kind of what you wanted at any given time, right? Whether that's social, whether that's entrepreneurial, whether that's related to sports or, Greek life, whatever. And I think Syracuse University as an environment creates the perfect ecosystem to really be able to choose what you want to do. And I think, especially as an entrepreneur, that's like the perfect world. I think within that, though, it's super important to kind of not just be, squirrel mentality, but like once you really understand, what you're trying to do while you're there in college, spending $70,000 a year to figure out what you want to do with your life. It's like once you kind of like are aware, okay, this is the route that I want to go. At that point, it's like what Brendan said. It's like, okay, we have 24 hours in a day. We have 8 semesters in this like 4-year experience. At this point, how are we going to get to that outcome? And what do those input-output systems need to look like to ensure that? And so at that point, it just becomes decision making, where do I want to spend my time, when I'm spending my time in that location, how am I actually occupying my time, who else is in that space, is that productive, etc. So I think being able to think about things holistically, and it actually created for Brendan and I, while we were able to think about those things critically through that last year in Syracuse, we were literally able to hypothesize over, what's a perfect environment for us to scale in, and what does that look like from a standpoint of where are we living, like what street do we live on, what's the layout of the house, like how do we want to set up an office, what market do we need to be in order to scale, and that was all pre-pandemic. And so we were fortunate to be able to be intentional about prioritizing like the value side of like founder lifestyle also, and kind of being able to plan for that ahead of time. So now, we have kind of this like beautiful cadence of how we work, how we live, boundaries, like understanding we're like roommates and we're own individual people, but then we're also still founders and we have to show up as that every day. And so, yeah, again, I just think that Syracuse and specifically the MSc program created for me an environment and a framework to learn all those things, and then now, fortunately, be able to implement them.
Good, thanks. And so now, you guys, you won Orange Tank last year. You've been in won some funding in some other competitions. You graduated. You're in LA. What are the challenges that you're facing now? They're different from when you were a student, obviously. So what are some of the things now you're done, you're sort of on your own? What are these present challenges you're facing?
I mean, listen, I say it's like same-ish, different day, It's like you're focused on building a product, fundraising, hiring, road mapping, it's like, it's but at a much different scale, right? So like I was joking with someone right before this, like, wow, like Brendan and I were like sweating this time last year, like, yo, like if we don't win this 25K, like I need to somehow convince Brendan's mom like what we're gonna do and like why it makes sense for his pre-med son to like follow me into the wild. Like it was just crazy. And like now we're in a position where we just finished demo day with Techstars out in LA. We're currently raising $500,000 in our pre-seed round. We already have a little over 100K committed, and again, it's like we're not thinking about 25K, but we're still thinking about fundraising. We're still thinking about how are we positioning ourselves in relation to stakeholders, whether they're investors, whether they're brand customers, whether they're creators. We're still focused on B2C acquisition, getting creators like on our wait list, like rolling them into the beta. We're still focused on hiring, but at that time it looked like how are we going to bring on developers to pay them $800 a month? And now we're bringing in like chief growth officer roles and like heads of products and really actually being big boys and big girls about what cap tables look like and scale. So it's kind of all kind of more of the same. I think for us it's as we know things are scaling in relation to the business. We already know that we were prepared for this type of stuff, right? We're Syracuse entrepreneurs. Like we were kind of given the framework for like how do you build a company in a lean, agile way, etc. I think the hard part is actually the self-growth and the self-refinement, right? Like Brendan and I set up weekly retrospective meetings on Saturdays where like we like look under our rock and like we give like very critical feedback in relation to each other. We think about how do we want to grow, like what books do we need to read, and I think those are the things that are more important, at least for us, in like the day-to-day, and thinking about how we're going to grow to continue to be able to support the overall things that we're scaling. But what these founders are focused on right now when it comes to fundraising, being able to build a team, focus on growing, focus on getting investors, and then figuring out how to build a predictable revenue model, and then how to scale from there, and then go get a seed and then a Series A. Like it's all the same thing, basically just at different stages. And so just staying humble, grounded, continually being open learners, and having kind of a network of mentors and advisors who can just be real with us and can be our champions, but also hold us accountable.
Yeah, that's great. I will say I when you talked about like taking some time to take a step back and evaluate things and read and kind of keep your minds going, it's I think it's just a great lesson that it's all you're still growing as a person. I mean, you're going in this business, but it's also keeping your mind expanding, getting some different perspectives on some things. So now, 5 years from now, tell us where you guys are going to be.
Yeah, so 5 years from now, we are going to be the professional network for Gen Z. what we've kind of identified is, Generation Z is the next generation of creators, future of work, the way that we do things, the way that we buy, the way that we want to choose the brands that we buy from, the brands that we work for, all of that's changing. The way that we need to kind of present ourselves and showcase our talents, our skills, what we have the capacity to do from a work level, all that's changing. And something like a global pandemic just kind of like puts, the foot on your neck in relation to how much serious that gets in relation to, there's college students across the country who are displaced, looking for how do I showcase myself with scale. Similarly, you have brands who are trying to figure out, hey, we need to be ahead. We know we need to reach Gen Z, but it's super hard to reach someone consistently if we don't have a relationship with them, right? So how do we, be able to understand, the trends and what's on the ground in relation to Gen Z, tap into them directly in order to deploy what we're doing at scale. And so what we see is essentially stepping into that place of being like the LinkedIn for Generation Z. We want to start doing that by infiltrating the college market, the creator ecosystem, but overall, we really want to be that premier talent marketplace economy where, the next generation of workers can kind of, showcase themselves, have a portfolio, and essentially have a better on-ramping tool and ability to be able to, connect with work opportunities. And so our overall goal is really to democratize access for the next generation of creators. And 5 years from now, we will be doing that.
Wonderful. So last question, and then I think the judges should be coming back by here. Advice, tips, things you'd want to give to these, students or other aspiring entrepreneurs. And I guess this could come from both of you guys. If you had to give like one piece of advice that you just say, never forget, what would that be from things that you've learned in the journey that you've gone through?
I'll start off. I'll go back to that prioritization bit. I think as a founder, as having a startup, there's always going to be too many things to do, and you're not gonna have enough time to do everything, prioritize everything. So the quicker you can do that reflection or do more of that reflecting to see what do we really want to focus on, I think is going to be key. I know one thing that we didn't necessarily struggle with, but one of the big pieces of advice we got was to focus. We had this roadmap with so many different features and this thing and that thing, and we wanted to do so much, and it just we wanted to do so much that we were doing nothing because we were focused too thin. So once we focused, got the MVP, redefined the vision, narrowed down what it is we are trying to do and what is the fastest, most efficient way we can do that, things just instantly got clearer. And I know that might seem like a very easy thing to do, but when you're absorbed in the business and are just thinking about different sales funnels and making models, it can be very easy to get overwhelmed. So just always take a step back, and then figure out what you need to do to get from point A to point B to point B to point C.
Yeah, Kelsey?
Yeah, and I think to that point, even what I was going to say is like always having a heart of curiosity, right? And like wanting to always be solving problems. And the only way that you can do that is like having like a servant, like humble heart by the way that you approach everything, right? So from the way that you show up to work, you show up with your team, you show up to, how you think about creating your pitch deck. Everything should be from the nature of like figuring out how you're solving a problem. And the only way that you can do that is by like listening to a need, right? And like really understanding what needs to be done and being open to feedback, being open to understanding that, you're probably going to be wrong, especially if your whole goal is to hire people that are smarter than you, right? Like, so being able to, as leaders, create spaces where you're able to have tough conversations, and you expect that, like friction, like Brendan says all the time, like he's like friction is like good, like I like bring that on, like I want that, like I desire like conflict because I know from there it's going to be what actually allows us to figure out the clarity, right? And after the smoke clears, we're able to then get answers. And so I think don't be afraid to be wrong. All the traditional entrepreneurial fail fast, fail forward, like all of that is super true, and it comes from being able to actually be humble and being able to be critical of self in order to be a great entrepreneur.
Yeah. Well, thank you both very much, Kelsey and Brendan. It's great to see you guys again. Great to hear about how you all are doing and your future plans. And thank you for sharing the insights that you guys have learned through the the real life experiences that you've been going through in doing entrepreneurship. And so I heard from Professor Torrance, they're going to be just like 1 or 2 more minutes. They're wrapping up their discussion. And so I just want to, all of you who competed today, we only can have a certain number of winners, but all of you are going to be, continuing on with entrepreneurship, continuing on with getting these businesses going. And I hope that you'll keep in touch with us here at Whitman at the business school. That we have we have many opportunities, just like Kelsey and Brendan here today, many opportunities for you to continue being involved here at the Whitman School. Guest speakers, serving as judges at competitions like the ones you're competing in now. I hope that you'll continue to keep in touch with us at Whitman. Allison Kessler, who you saw here in the chat, she's our Director of Alumni Relations, and so we would love to continue to stay in touch with you and find ways that you can be involved with encouraging and fostering entrepreneurship here at Whitman. Let's see. And one other thing too, Linda Hartsock, she may be one of the attendees here. She is the director of the Launchpad. And as you've heard the students talking about the Launchpad, it's open to students, but it's also available to alumni. And so if you're here in the Syracuse area, I invite you to stop by the Launchpad. It's on the main floor of the Byrd Library. And get to know Linda. She's very well connected, and she has a lot of resources to help as well. So with that, let's see, are they back yet? Oh, there, Allison, thank you for putting your email address in there. Thank you very much. They're in the chat to keep in touch with her. Let's see, they should be any minute coming back here. So we can just just stay with us. It'll be a quick 1 minute here while they are coming back in from their deliberations. Let me let John know that we are ready. All right, Professor Torrance, I am happy to pass the baton on to you here for taking us down the final stretch.
All right, fantastic, good. All right, let me share my screen. All right, cool. Can you guys see the slides there?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, good. You see presentation mode or the?
It's not presentation mode, so you want to put it in presentation mode.
Yeah, I think I just did, but I got to swap the.
You got to swap the share, yeah.
Yeah. All right. How's that? Is that better?
Nope.
No. All right, hold on. We'll try this again. There we go. Okay, I think you got it now, right?
Yes, we do.
All right, cool. So welcome back, everybody. Sorry it took a few extra minutes, but I think that was a good sign of some healthy and spirited deliberation. So for Orange Tank 2020, we'll get right to it because I know everybody's been here for a while. So manage this. All right, well, that's me. All right, so I just want to one more time thank you, the participating teams. We know how much work it is to get a pitch like this together, and we really appreciate your engagement. And it's just great for entrepreneurship on Syracuse University's campus. And of course, we want to thank our judges. These are busy people who gave very generously of their time tonight to be here, so we want to thank them. And of course, John Corey, who has given very generously to fund this competition. Here are the students: Fiscal, Vets to Industry, Munch Beef Jerky, Juggernaut, and Ambassador Technologies. We'll start with the student category. In third place, the third prize of $1,000 goes to Juggernaut. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Anyway, this is student category, second prize, sorry. This would be Vets to Industry for $2,500. Well done, Brian. Student category, first prize, and our $5,000 winner, Ambassador Technologies. Congratulations, Bruno. Now on to our alumni category. We had 6 teams because it was really hard to boil it down to our top 5 during the first round. We had Right Way Foods, Cloud Studio, Mucho, Farm to Flame Energy, Old Blackwater, and V's. So in third place, V's with $1,000. Congratulations. In second place for our $2,500 prize, Farm to Flame Energy. Congratulations. And alumni category first prize with $5,000 goes to Old Black Water. Congratulations. Now for the final overall grand prize of $25,000, this one goes to Cloud Studio. Somebody's happy. All right. Congratulations, everybody. I know how much work this is, and congratulations to all the winners and those who didn't place in the money rankings. You still should be commended. Just being out here and doing it is an amazing first step towards getting your venture launched. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Professor Moss. Thank you, judges. And thank you, students and alums. Have a great night.